Welcome all, and thanks a lot for joining us for this coffee chat today. Hi, Ram. Uh,
Hi.
I'm not able to. Okay, I can see you now. Hi, Ram. Thanks a lot again, and good to reconnect with you. And thanks for accepting our invite for this session.
Thank you for having me here, Vijay. A
Good, Ram.
pleasure.
Good, perfect. And also, it's always good to have you. And I'm sure that this will be an electrifying conversation with your high energy. And I hope the audience will get charged by this.
Right.
Perfect. Perfect. So, all today's theme or the topic is shaping the new normal in medical technology. And to start with, Ram, I would like to start off with a simple question. I've seen you have over 2 decades of experience in this medical technology industry. You have been driving product innovation, engineering to address ever-changing customer needs. And I've seen clearly, you have seen the evolution of Stryker, you have seen the evolution of medical technology itself, the adoption of those technologies across this 20 years. I'd like to understand what has been your biggest motivator in this long journey.
Thanks, Vijay. So firstly, Striker actually gives me a purpose when I wake up every day, right? Because at the heart of what we do is make healthcare better. When I see the products that I touch impacting the lives of patients and the surgeons and nurses that uses it gives me a kick. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. Right, when I started my career in Striker about 20 years ago,
Mhm.
I was asked to go observe a cadaver lab. That's part of a training to learn anatomy and all that.
Mhm.
And as an engineer, like especially a mechanical engineer, it's nerve wracking, right? You're looking at medical terminology and all this stuff. But the surgeon I was training with, she put me at ease. So she dissected the entire, like from the shoulder to the fingertip. Showed me how the anatomy of the hand is. And like I don't know if you know, Vijay, there are pulleys in your fingers. Did you know that?
No, no.
Yeah, there are pulleys in your fingers. Like when you move your finger, there's a tendon that goes through the pulley here. That's how your fingers move. And the whole point was she was trying to tell me your body is actually the best engineering marvel that you're going to see ever. The
Mhm.
human body, right? So ever since then, I've been hooked to medical technology. It's a great intersection of medicine and technology. I've been hooked since then. It's been an amazing journey. And then talking about Striker itself, it's a great people-centric culture we have here.
Mhm.
Focuses on empowering individuals, and I enjoy this culture. And Striker has given me great opportunities to learn, within MedTech, um, learn new things that I would never thought that I would learn, and also grow as an individual as well as a leader. So that's what why I've continued this long in Striker.
Great, great, Ram. Good to know. Good to know. And you started on, I think, on the technology, and the thing which comes into my mind is over last, majorly after 2020, and I would say last 3 years, we have observed a rapid digital adoption, majorly driven by this pandemic. And it's not only in the medical; we have seen across industry segments. And we believe that actually this would continue over next 5 to 10 years. And what I want to understand from you is how you define digital within medical technology. And the reason I'm asking this question is it different from other industry verticals? That's one. And second one is compared to a typical enterprise, which leverage digital or new technologies for automation or a connectivity or a faster processing, etc. So I want to understand how exactly you define digital. Is it different in medical technology?
And a good question, Vijay. See, it's not different. I think it's the same thing. But
Uh-huh.
our focus, being in, we are in the surgical areas, right? Orthopedic, neurotechnology, spine. Our
Mhm.
primary focus is to make healthcare better and get better clinical outcomes, right? So that's what we use digital to drive. That's our primary focus. How can I get better clinical outcomes? And of course, right, automation, driving efficiencies, maybe secondary objectives, but a primary objective is to drive better clinical outcomes. I'll give you an example. So we have, in our orthopedics business, we have a robotics platform that are used in hip and knee surgeries. So what
Mhm.
you do is you take a CT, right? Like you take a CT scan, and that data is converted into a 3D model of the patient. And now you can access it in a computer and do whatever you want with it, right? And that's used for pre-planning the surgery. There's like landmarks, and there's several things surgeons do when they're doing a knee surgery to ensure the alignment of the implant to the patient. And they can do that before the surgery. And then you take that plan, and then when you go into the surgical room, you transfer that plan into the robot, and you know what you're looking at, right? When you open up the patient, you exactly know what you're looking at. And with the assistance of the robotic arm, you execute that plan. Right? Without the robotic arm, it might not be that precise in executing the plan. So if you look at this combination of steps that I explained has proven to give better outcomes, like say in knee surgery, which could be faster recovery or lower pain, faster return to function. Actually, these type of outcomes is what we are after. So this is what the initial focus is, right? And this is what we are focused in, which is we are within the surgical room, we are close to the patient. How can we get better outcomes? And then that's where we had many applications in the digital world. So that's one. And then the next phase of it is maybe very familiar for everyone, which is the data piece of it, right? So right now, even a sophisticated robot we have is not connected to the cloud because of product security issues, right? It's a legacy system, and we can't just change it and just connect it. Actually, we're working on it. It's going to take some time to make sure that we do that in a very secure manner, and patient safety is of paramount importance to us. So we can't do anything that risks us. So once we connect it, then we start generating clinical data from it, right? And this data could be used in, say, writing algorithms for decision support in a surgery. This is going to be transformative because you're removing variability in outcomes. First of all, from one patient to another patient with the same surgeon, then more importantly, between surgeons, right? How can we generally when we go to any doctor, we say we want experienced doctors and surgeons, right? So now how can you make a relatively junior surgeon get the same outcome? Right now with the AI data, we can enable that. So that's the next phase of digital innovation that'll come in our business. We have the devices, we are playing within the core domain of, say, orthopedics or neuro or whatever it is. But once we start getting the data, we'll start writing algorithms and democratizing the surgical outcome. And I'll talk like maybe a minute more on this. One, to fully realize this potential, right? What we have ahead of us, we have created a dedicated business division called Digital Robotics and Enabling Technologies. Right. And this is a platform capability that looks across Stryker, and they're doing many platform technologies. Right? And then our businesses, which are decentralized and independent, they leverage these platform technologies, and so that we cannot replicate the same thing within each business, but each business can be focused on their customers, whether it's orthopedics or whether it's general surgery. Right. So, for example, in general surgery business, they can look at how they can enable an oncology surgeon. The main problem for oncology surgeon is how to differentiate a cancer cell versus a healthy cell, so that you remove all the cancer cells. Right. It's very basic things. But how do you many a times when you're doing surgery, cancer returns because you haven't removed everything. So how great it will be if you can solve that problem. So our businesses stay focused on the domain, and digital remains a platform capability, and that marriage will bring innovations in the system. And I'll close by saying some of the macro trends that Kingsley was talking about. It's happening. Cloud, it's all the same things. But like say things like 5G. We are interested in that, but likely the adoption in our industry will be a little bit behind the consumer technology. Right? You'll probably see it in the consumer markets before we adopt technologies like 5G, just because of the regulatory landscape and the long product development cycles we have.
Oh, good. I think it was good. And two things which I got. One is you said that the focus of collecting data is majorly to improve the outcome. That I think you highlighted. And the second is you said that the priorities within medical technology or medical devices industry is different from the other enterprises, and hence the adoption of technology would be selective. I think that's something which you highlighted. Want to understand if you look at considering all these constraints or regulatory stuff you ought to have, any specific technology or a practice or a tool where you're seeing a higher adoption? I would say that over last 2 to 3 years, which were the adoption of the same methods would be higher in other industries, but you're getting to see that in medical industry currently.
Yeah, since this is about engineering trends, let me talk about some of the engineering tools that we are seeing increasing adoption, right? Especially in the last 3 years, we have seen a lot of increase in simulation tools for product development. And this, like say, people that are in automotive or aerospace, they're like, hey, this is old news. What are you talking about? Like say, for example, in automotive, it's a standard practice, right? You're not going to crash test a car every time. You're developing a model and doing all your testing on a simulation model, right? I'm talking about FEA and other CFD tools that we have. In our industry, the FDA especially was behind in accepting simulation results for our verification, right? But that has changed. So now they're accepting a simulation simulation test as a body of evidence before we can get the product approved. So we are seeing increased adoption of simulation within the MedTech industry. And it's very useful for us because it's reduced time to market, right? We can do it faster, right? Once you have the models, you're not doing a physical testing. And then we also save a lot of costs on physical testing. And, especially during the COVID times, it's very useful, right? There are a couple of months in which we were not able to access our labs completely. And, and then with people now in this remote working, you want to do all the work here. Not everything can be done, but how great it will be if you're doing a design iterations on a simulation model, right? Before you go and print it. So that is one. And what's exciting about this is, so you're seeing this in, say, typically what we use. Okay, so let me move on to like a different thing, actually. We're using simulation, say, in product development and prototyping, right?
Okay.
But what could be exciting is the future is what if we can develop a digital twin, right, of every person in the world, and in a simulation model, and we can do an in silico clinical trial, right? You're coming up with a new therapy or an intervention. You don't need to do the testing, right? Like a traditional process of development of engineering and physical benchtop testing goes away. We can do an in silico clinical trial on a digital twin, and we can launch products much faster. It'll increase the speed to market, and then even better, right? Not just for clinical trials. Imagine if you go to a doctor and say you have a serious ailment, and the doctor is evaluating, hey, maybe this will work or that will work. The doctor will actually administer a particular course of treatment on your digital twin. Got and see how you respond before you get the treatment, right? How great it will be. So these are tools and technology trends that will take some time, but it's not. I don't think it's that highly improbable. We may very well see these type of things in the next decade or so.
Oh, great, Ram. Actually, I came prepared with a couple of other questions, and I see that there are questions are pouring. At least I have 4 to 5 questions. So I just picked one question. This will be my last question, considering the time limit. I'm really sorry for that. If I look at the medical technologies future, and even actually I can consider Stryker here, want to understand how do you see immediate, I would say, short to mid-term future or a long-term future specific to digital technologies within medical technology?
Within medical technology, it's going to continue to evolve, right? Like some of these things that I'm talking about will continue to do. And I will talk about a couple of things that are happening. And I spoke about the clinical outcomes and enabling technologies, these type of things. And we have traditionally been an implant company, right? Capital equipment company. And yeah, probably a little bit behind, but the last couple of, say, acquisitions that the company has done, right, have been purely digitally focused. I'll talk about one example. One company has a digital platform with AI-enabled real-time blood loss monitoring. Okay, this technology helps in recognizing hemorrhages during child delivery, and it prevents maternal mortality. And our current protocols without these type of tools rely on visual estimation of blood loss, and it results in inaccurate calculations, and many times results in death of the mother actually. So how great can we use these type of digital platforms to drive those type of clinical outcomes, like better clinical outcomes. And we also had another technology called, like, say, for example, in the surgical world, there is a problem of retained sponges, believe it or not. You're using sponge to absorb the blood, right, in the surgical site. And many times these sponges get left inside the patient and closed, right? It results in complications. So there's very simple digital tool in which we count in the sponges that are going in. And then you count it out before you close the patient, right? It's a safety protocol. Mm-hmm. And then now we have these sponges. These sponges become instead of a visual estimate of the blood loss, you can do an accurate estimate of how much blood was lost in the patient. Okay. And if the patient is identified as risk for hemorrhage, they can do the proper treatment, right? So think about it. So these type of things will come, and we are getting more and more sophisticated on how to apply this within clinical areas. And then I'll give you another example of a digital solution, how it's changing, say, communication and workflow, right? This is a company which uses like basic iPhone and all this type of app platforms to improve communication for the caretakers, for nurses, right? Okay. And they could be wearing a small badge, or they could be using the iPhone. And imagine, your loved one is going in to get a surgery or something, some treatment is happening. You don't know what's happening, right? Imagine if you're getting updates from them, what's happening in the surgery, how great it will be. So this is what these guys do. And it's a simple communication and workflow optimization tool, but it's completely digital solution. And during COVID, again, it was really differentiating because the nurses can communicate with the patients who are probably in an isolated ward, right? Mm-hmm. You're not able to access and talk to them, right? This platform communicates with them, and they're able to communicate and administer medicine using this platform, and communicate with the patients' families. So I see digital technology playing a tremendous role in driving clinical outcomes within within our areas of surgery or within the ICUs or whatever our clinical domain is. And it will also be used for optimizing workflow and communication, these type of things that we have gotten to use that in the consumer world, right? It hasn't come to MedTech. Yes. So I see both of that continuing to explode, and Stryker as a company will continue to innovate both organically on how we can innovate here, as well as through acquisitions.
Great, Ram. Thanks a lot for your time, and it was good to hear a lot of stories, use cases, what you just spoke about. I think at least a couple of them are very new to me, and it's good to understand and know about it. And thanks a lot for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.